All righty. I think we're going to get going here. So thanks everyone for being here. Really excited to kick off Career Week with the panel of faculty member on talking to your faculty about your career. We are recording this session, so we'll be able to share that with folks who were unable to attend. But to start us off, I'm going to kick it over to our amazing student moderators to introduce themselves and the panel.
Hello, everyone. I'm Courtney Kerhays. I'm a senior and I'm double majoring in organizational communication and interactive media studies. And I'm double minoring in English studies and speech communication. And another fun fact of my involvement on campus, I'm also the assistant director of Cardinal PR, which is our student-run PR firm, and a social media marketing intern at Cardinal First. And I'm going to turn it over to Jessica for her intro.
So hello everyone, my name is Jessica Weicha. I'm a senior as well. I'm double majoring in the flip side. I'm double majoring in actuarial science and computer science. Dr. Marco Martinez is one of my professors, so I know him quite well, who's on the panel. Fun fact about me, I guess, on campus is that I actually work with career development and I also compete on the speech team, which has been a lot of fun. And I'm really excited to moderate this today because one cool thing about North Central are the professors and are the faculty and how close you can get with them. So I'm really excited to have them all here and help to create an open discussion.
So thank you to all the panelists for joining us today. As Jessica said, we have a lot of really great faculty representing several different programs. So we'd first like to start off with each panelist introducing themselves as well as their program. There's no order, so anyone who wants to unmute and just go.
I will jump in and introduce the next person so we have the ball rolling. I'm Professor Marco Martinez. I'm the director of the Actuarial Science program. I'm in the math department. I am also work with the Organization for Latinos Student Association. And I will give it next to Professor Michael Blight.
I'm so excited. I'm Michael Blight. I am an assistant professor of communication media studies. Fun fact is Courtney is actually in my office right now. If you see a cool posters in the background, I take full credit. That's my office. So I am the executive director of Cardinal PR, which is our public relations student firm, as Courtney had mentioned before. And unlike Joanna, I didn't wear my first gen cool jacket, but I should have. When I saw you come on, I was like, I forgot it. So I'm also a first generation college student, and I'm the faculty mentor for Cardinal First Communication Media Studies. So can I pass it to Dr. Carl Kelly? Is that okay?
No, that's not okay. I don't like following Professor Blight. He's got the cool condenser microphone. I'm so professional. Again, I'm Carl Kelly. I'm in the Department of Psychology. My areas in psychology are industrial organizational, so sort of the borderline between psychology and business, but also applied psychometrics, which is the measurement side and statistical side of psychology. I too am a first generation college student. I am also the faculty mentor to the women's lacrosse team and the organization NCC Positivity. Oh, and I will pass it to Joanna.
Hi, I'm Dr. Veta Mievich, or Dr. W, and I'm an assistant professor of biology. And I'm the local plant biologist in the department, so I'm here to help, especially with the ecology related side of biology, but I will speak for all of biology today and help you guys out with finding the right mentors for the molecular and the genetic aspect of biology, since they're so different. And I am the faculty mentor for the First Gen Cardinals biology group. And I will pass that to Laura.
Hello, all. I'm Dr. Laura Lodewick. I'm in the theater program, associate professor of theater and head of acting. In our program, we have a line program, an acting track, a directing and dramaturgy track, and a musical theater program. And I mentor several student organizations, and we're putting up a show now for our department this week that I'll put a plug in for on Thursday. We open. And yeah, I'll pass it on to Professor Kavanaugh.
Well, nice to join you all. It's nice to see faces of colleagues, some of whom I haven't seen in so long. I'm just delighted to do that. My home department is management and marketing. I teach courses in business law and legal environment in that area. I direct our leadership ethics and values program and teach courses in leadership seminar and conflict resolution for that program. And I'll pass to my SBE colleague, Najman.
Thank you, Tom. I'm Nazreen Khanum, Assistant Professor of Finance. My area is mostly on market risk. So what's happening with the stock market, how much risk is related to investing in particular stocks or the market in general. I'm also the faculty mentor for our Bulls and Bears Finance Club. And a part of that club is dedicated to help our finance majors explore different career paths within finance. So I'm so happy to be part of this panel. And I'll pass it on to Nicole.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Nicole Rivera, a professor in associate professor in psychology. My area is educational psychology. My scholarship interests are focused on informal learning. So I do a lot of work, research and evaluation in museums and involve a lot of students in that process. On campus, I teach cultural psychology, community psychology, and careers in psychology and neuroscience. So we talk a lot about careers in that capacity. I'm the faculty advisor for Psychology Club and also work in collaboration with Dr. Alexis Chambers for Cardinal First for Psychology and Neuroscience.
Awesome. I believe that is everyone. So as you can see, we have a wide variety of professors from across many different fields today. And so we're just going to be asking questions that we've identified, and we've had students ask us a lot as career development, but we really want you all to participate. So if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, interrupt us, we'll be monitoring it. And so to start us off, we're just going to ask, if students want to come and discuss career options within their major, when and how should they come and chat with you? Whoever wants to start.
Well, I'll go ahead and start. Right, again, this is kind of weird right now because usually people can just come by my office because I'm here. But with COVID and everything, it's just harder to figure out when to do that. And so what I've gone to is online scheduling. And so if you send me an email, I can send you a link to all of my available office times. And then you can either set up a time to come in person, or we can meet over Zoom or Teams.
Maybe I'll just add a couple quick thoughts there. The first is, I think students sometimes wonder, do they have to be in one of your classes in order to ask you for help in any possible way, here including future careers? And the answer is categorically no. So please see us as people that are looking forward to talking to you about what you do with the rest of your life, whether you're in our class or ever have been. And second, and this is kind of relevant to me, maybe more than some of my friends here, do you have to be in one of our majors or minors to have a conversation with us about a long-term career? I say it's more relevant to me because I do virtually all of our pre-law advising, which means I see students in lots and lots of different majors. So again, I think I'd want to say the answer is no. Don't see being in a class, being in a major, being in a minor, being in our building or whatever as obstacles to coming and talking to us if you think there's something we can give you that would be helpful in your career.
And I would add to it, early and often, this is a conversation that is evolving. So it's not a one-time chat. Even in our department where we have a course, we talk about this for a whole semester. That is not the end. That this conversation is something that evolves over time. So keep coming back.
I'll add on to Nicole's point, and I have that in multiple places in my notes for today, as early as possible. Just don't hesitate. If you see us in our office, just say a quick hi, introduce yourself, and then if we are busy, just schedule some other time, right? Usually we are very happy to see you, especially if it's an unknown face. So just come in, introduce yourself, and then we'll find out a time more suitable where we can talk in length.
And I would add that the goal doesn't even necessarily need to be like, well, I'm looking forward to graduation. We're happy to meet with you anytime about summer opportunities or professionalizing internship opportunities, anything that you find that you want to talk about. It doesn't mean that you just have to like wait and build for this release after graduation. We're totally happy to walk through different things that you're seeing ads for now, or where to look for things now for summer and beyond. So yeah.
If no one else has anything else to add, we can go on to the next question, but those were all great responses. I especially love that you touched on that you don't have to be in the major or minor. Actually looking ahead on the questions we were gonna ask. But what types of questions might students ask you regarding their major and career path, or just kind of something, say, to get a meeting like that started?
Let me jump in. Kind of connect to the previous one. One of the things that I see people kind of push this conversation for later on, it is that they don't know what to ask. It's okay, don't worry. That's a question. That's our job. Our job is to guide you. So if you just show up and say, look, I'm a sophomore, or I'm a first year, or I'm a junior, and I have no clue what is next, and I don't even know where to start. That's a perfect question. So we don't expect you to know the answers. Like, no, what will be the point of being here? So don't wait that you have the perfect question to ask to go and talk. Show up and talk. And then we can help you figure out the questions to ask. So my connected to the previous question, if you can show up day one of your first year to start to have those conversations, even if you're like, I have no idea. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know anything. Great, welcome to the club. A lot of those are there, and we can start to think about that. So don't wait to have the right questions, because there are no right questions. I think that the important thing is just start to think about it, start to think what are the right paths.
Dr. W, do you want to go first? You and I unmuted at the same time. Do you want to go and say? Okay. I have a very similar sentiment, which is that I try to do a lot of the questioning just to poke and prod and figure out what you have interest in. That's one of the things that I do, whether you're a prospective student coming in from high school or transferring in. I ask you a simple question like, what do you like? What interests you? What inspires you? What encourages your curiosity? And so we'll do a lot of that. And so to Dr. Martinez's point, I just don't want you to think that you have to have a solid question or a solid path of questioning to just chat with us, because I mean, literally we are paid to be there for you. And so I want you to take advantage of that and never hesitate. And the last thing that I said, and it's the thing that I circled in my notes, I have led so many students to other faculty members when they started with me, just because they saw me at, a Cardinal First event or something, or they saw me across campus speaking, and they felt compelled to talk to me. And I've walked them to, School of Business and Entrepreneurship. I'm like, this is the person for you. Or like, I've walked them to the science building. And so use us as kind of the conduit for everyone else. Like, you can start here, but like, if you find that I'm not the most helpful and productive person for your existence, I'm glad you found somebody else as part of that process.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that we're happy to even help you figure out like what types of jobs are, available in a particular field. So, if you're considering ecology, there's private sector, like field tech type work where you're working outside all the time, or do you want to be more in a government role, or, what's academia like? There's all sorts of different types of jobs within the field that we can also give you an idea of what that would be like if you're not entirely sure what you can even do with your particular degree or your particular interest. So yeah, basically agree with everybody. You don't need to have the most specific list of questions or anything like that. We're just kind of here to help you get an idea, get your grounding.
And I would
think,
just, sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Nicole.
I was just going to add, like Michael said, we're paid to do this, but I think really like this is the best part of our job, right? We're all like, this is why we're here. And sometimes it concerns me when students are apologetic, like, oh, do you have, don't like, we love talking to you. That's why we're here. So please keep coming.
No, I would agree. I would rather talk with you than a lot of other things the college wants me to do, right? And it's a great excuse. But the other thing I was going to point out is you can come and talk to us even when you are sure of what you want to do, right? And so Jessica, you're interested in computer science and actuarial science. Have you ever thought about applied psychometrics, right? Because those skills, there's a lot of cool jobs in psychology, right? And so seeing different career paths and different ways to use that information, maybe it is right for you to go into actuarial science, but knowing those options can also be very helpful, unless you're interested in IO psychology, and then you can't talk with Kavanaugh. So that's the only rule. But again, there's lots of places to begin.
I'll add one more question that you can ask. Sometimes have students who come in and ask me, how can I get involved in campus? So whether it's clubs or a certain particular interest that you have, we can connect you to the right person for that, right? So it doesn't always have to be related to academics or just career, just, you know, it could be your time during North Central. How can you spend that?
Those are all really great responses. I know me as a student, I've had experiences in all of them, from a faculty telling me to join a club to just like Dr. Carl Kelly said, except Marco did that to me. He pulled me in his office, went, oh, have you seen computer science, accounting, mathematics? So I've definitely had those experiences. So it's good to hear that from all of you. And so the next question would be, what types of conversations do you wish students had with you more often?
Maybe I'll start this one and say, and I think this picks up on things that many of my friends have said. The first one, I mean, that is to say, the one that helps them think through where all the next conversations happen. You know, do you go to graduate school or do you go straight for a job? Do you take 2 minors and 2 majors? Or do you pare that down a little bit and look for study abroad opportunities or something like that? I think Najrin might have been the one that said it, but I think we were all nodding vigorously when it was said. The earlier the better. And in some ways, my way of starting this with a pre-law student is to say, you've only got 3 years in college, not 4, because your application for law school is going to be due so early in the fall of your senior year that essentially everything you do during your senior year is gravy. So if you've waited until, you know, your junior year to chat with me about what are those academically significant co-curricular activities you should be doing? Who are the faculty you should be doing research with? Where might you present a paper or speak at a conference? Where might you do a poster session? You're really trying to catch up. So I have found this year that our advisors have been, the professional advisors, really vigilant about sending first-year students over quickly. And so I'd encourage the students that are here, the ones that listen later, listen to your advisor when they tell you, you know, you've scheduled your classes, you've declared your major, here's 2 or 3 faculty you should talk about right now early in your career to start setting maybe a variety of different paths you might follow.
And I think building on that, taking advantage of some of this individual one-on-one time to look for unique things that you can do individually, other opportunities. So like applying for Richter grants, applying for, I just had a student who won a national playwriting competition because we worked on that together. You know, little step-by-step things that you just identify or want to ask to look to identify things that are new, unique opportunities that you can take individually to work with professors on so that you can, you know, build your resume as you go, like Dr. Kavanaugh was saying. And it's those little things that as you keep going, then all of a sudden you look back and you're like, oh, I've done all these things. And so I think sometimes just sometimes it seems like there's so much to do. If you just pick one thing and do it, or you come in and say, what's the one thing I should do next? Not even like thinking about way down the road, just like, what should I do right now? And just following that one thing, just making a choice. And seeing where that takes you is sometimes really interesting and exciting.
And I think the more you can let us know what you're passionate about, that really can guide that. I often feel like that's something that can be very challenging to learn about a student in a classroom setting. And it's those one-on-one conversations where I really get those ideas. And then as these opportunities come up, I know where to plug people in. I know where to, make those suggestions. So let us know what excites you.
Yeah, and I'll just reference Courtney right here because she's here, and so it's easy. But Courtney and I are sort of co-lead an undergraduate research team, and we look at influencers and YouTube apology videos. And that's something that I promise you nobody had ever thought coming in as an undergraduate student could be a thing that they could investigate. And it started off as a class project that Courtney was really passionate about. She did it.
That was actually Julia.
Oh, that's right. It was Julia.
I did an adjacent project.
That's
but
right.
It was more specifically Julia.
Yeah, it was
one
Julia.
of our co-researchers. Yeah,
that's right. And so there's three of them. And so it started as a class project that was kind of a thing that they had curiosity in that fulfilled the requirements of the class. And then just getting to know them, right? I mean, that was the opportunity where I can't read minds. I couldn't possibly know what they had interest in, but because they allowed me to understand, and I also encourage them, right? It's two-way street. I encourage them to pursue something that, intrigued them. And so a lot of those things, if you get lucky, they can happen kind of sporadically or organically, but honestly, it does kind of require some vulnerability, some openness on your end too. And we'll try to nurture that and encourage it. But sometimes, unfortunately, you might have, as a student, might have to do a little bit of the legwork at the beginning to be open, which I know can be scary, but that might help encourage and open up, seemingly endless opportunities for research or co-curriculars, what Tom Cavanaugh described, and I wrote it down as academically significant. And I thought that was a brilliant way of phrasing that. And so we're just here to foster those things.
And I second that, because an internship I'm doing right now, I actually got on recommendation from Dr. Carly Drake before I even really knew her that well, but she knew I had interest from talking to me once in like book PR. So that's kind of what the internship is now. So it just goes to show that you really don't know what faculty are going to be the ones to like give you that extra push to open all these doors for you. So if no one else has anything, which feel free to interrupt me, but how would you like to be approached for letters of recommendation from students?
I think email is fine, of course, or you can pop by offices and things like that. But I think it is helpful to have a couple weeks of a heads up for most faculty, because generally what happens is letters of recommendation for everyone are due within that same period of time. So we end up needing to write lots and lots of letters. So the more time that we have, the better. I always say like 2 weeks probably at a minimum. And in general, we are probably approaching us because you already know us in some way, but help us get to know you a little bit better. Tell us about why you want this particular position, what excites you about it. If you're working with somebody else on a research opportunity elsewhere, like why do you want to work with them? What skills are you bringing? Anything like that we can throw into our letters to make them even more personal and substantive, then the better. You can send us your CV or something like that as well.
I'll build on that a little bit. So yes, right on what Joanna said, at least give us 2 to 3 weeks to plan. And it's usually the end of the spring semester when things are already crazy with a lot of other things. So it does help having that time. And then like Joanna mentioned, I have a template that I send out to students the moment I get that email, which includes resume, courses you have taken with me, semesters, what was your final grade, were there certain projects that you did in that course? If you can attach that project, it helps me look up maybe like peer evaluation, what your peers have said about you, to build on that letter. And then deadlines, any relevant instructions, name of the program, institution, obviously, and what inspired you and why are you interested in that program? So a short paragraph on your interests. So that's my template that I have set that I use a lot during this time of the year.
I think reference letters are things that you cultivate rather than things you just ask for. And what I mean by that is that the best reference letter is one that comes from a person who can say, you know, I have sort of this stock line about I know a person well in a variety of contexts and can speak well to their abilities and character and that sort of thing. So I don't have any particular, I'm sort of agnostic about how you approach me about it. But what I'd love to do is have a more long-term conversation with you, one that develops a relationship and one that lets me speak to, from personal experience, a variety of experiences with you, not just in the classroom, but outside the classroom. And my sense is that the recipient of a letter like that regards it as more trustworthy than one where you might be reporting, you know, Courtney told me she was in the PR club, and I don't even have a sense of what Kelly's positivity club is and whether or not that would have any value in an application. Maybe I'll join, Carl, and see whether that's true or not. But cultivate your references and give them a chance to know you well enough to write the letter that makes you look different than, let's say, the U of I or the Iowa grad who's going to get one from somebody that can say, yeah, they were enrolled in my class. I went back and looked at my Blackboard. They had a 94% in my class, but they don't know who you are. So be somebody that we know.
I think more information is always better. So if you're willing to include your, you know, your application to this place to show us like the paragraph of what you wrote, and a link to the application itself or a description of what you're applying to. It's really useful to see exactly what you're targeting and to see the what they're looking for so that we can combine, you know, your narrative to what the target search is. So it's really useful if you can give us like a direct link, a direct copy of what exactly you are applying to in as much detail as you can pull.
Yeah, let me elaborate on that organization. Like as some of my colleagues were saying, like sometimes we're writing a lot of these letters to a lot of different places. So be organized. Don't send me 40 emails, each of them with a piece of the information. I want everything in one place. So you make my life easy. So that's important. Be organized. I hardly agree with my colleagues and friends about giving time, but don't hesitate when unexpected opportunities happen that need a letter. Okay? Sometimes an award just get announced and you read it and you're like, I'm perfect, but the deadline is next week. And then you are like, well, everybody tells me that I need to give several weeks. And that's where the connection that several people have been saying, that if you has been cultivating these relationships and you has been always on time and you have been always organized, if you once arrive and tell me I need a letter for Friday, if I never see you, I will probably say, no, sorry, it is no way I can write a letter. And let me just throw Jessica under the bus because this just happened to her last week where I think she emailed me Monday and we need a letter for Friday for a national award that just come up. And I was like, I will do it. No problem at all. I will need this for you. I know what's a short deadline, but it is just, I know her so well and we have been working so close that for something unexpected, I'm willing to do it. So keep that in mind. When something like very unexpected happens, some of your faculty, if you have been developed those relationships, they will be willing to take a bullet for you. This is a bullet, believe me. Writing good letters is a lot of work, but that's why the relationship matters.
Those were all really great examples. I know as a student, asking for letters is always very stressful. Even if you know the professor well, it's for some reason always just really, really stressful. So it's good to hear that you guys are willing and able and give some pointers. I wanted to ask kind of just a question to you guys of just, do you have any certain like examples of really good conversations you've had with students over the years you've been teaching here? Like, are there any conversations you're like, that was amazing, like when that student came in, like this is what we talked about, this is how great it was? Do you have any examples of conversations like that?
I'll start us off. Sorry, Carl, just noticed you unmuted. I had a transfer student. She came in third year, and we met during, the event that we have where we met first year students that you come in, and we briefly met during that. And then she followed up the very next day. She came by my office and sat down, introduced herself, and then we talked for like 20 minutes or so. She discussed like why she moved to North Central, and then what are her skill sets. Like, she's a people person, which explains why she was in my office the next day. But then I spoke to my colleagues, and they had similar conversations with her. And what that did is, she came in and I said, you know what, next year we're going to have leadership opportunities. If you're interested, come meet with us. What fields are you interested in? She mentioned wealth management because she likes speaking to people and helping them. And every time an opportunity comes in within wealth management, she's the first person that I think of, right? So again, tell us what your interests are, what certain skill sets that you have that can map out into a potential career. So I thought that conversation, I always use that example for other transfer students who come in.
So I think sometimes when you're teaching a class, students will come in if they're on the struggle bunny and they come, okay, I need some help with this. And that certainly is fine. But some of my best conversations are when students find something I said in class interesting. And so if you find something interesting or you want to learn more about, you just never know where that's going to take you. And again, the example that I have here, a couple of years ago, I was teaching in my statistics class partial correlations. And we all know how much fun a good partial correlation is. And so I know it's like, it's the best. And so, but a student came in and she just said, this is really interesting to me. And can we talk about it? And I said, yeah. And so we talked about it. I was actually on a consulting project with a pediatric audiology clinic, right? Looking at some of the effects of, little kids wearing hearing aids. We were doing some partial correlations. She actually wasn't going to become a statistician, but she actually liked working with kids. And so this was an opportunity for me to connect her on a project where, again, we could do the statistics and she could actually work with the kids and collect the data, which is not something that I was particularly skilled at. But then we worked together on the statistics, and that never would have happened if she didn't come in and say, oh, this is something that's interesting. And so you can come in and talk to us, again, if you're on the struggle bunny, and we're certainly happy to do that. But if something's going well, or if you like it, we like talking about that too.
Anything that allows me to brag about you and to know you. You will be surprised about when I start to be more involved with the corporate world. One of the things that blows my mind is the amount of jobs that never arrive to LinkedIn, like that never go to the surface. So many of us regularly get emails, calls to ask for something. And when somebody called me and want to talk about you, and I can talk for an hour non-stop about you, you got the job. But if somebody called me and talk about something about you, and I'm like, well, hold on, who? Let me check my roster, and you have nothing to say, that's a killer. So anything that allows me to talk about you, that shows I know you, it's a good conversation at any level. And that, again, goes to my point of develop the relationship. Like, because you never know where the opportunities, like opportunities can happen at any moment, at any time. And some people talk about luck. I believe a tiny little bit in luck, but I believe a lot in being ready. Like, without being ready, luck, it's useless. Like, you can meet the right person, but if you are not prepared, it's useless. So somebody can call one of your professors or one family member, somebody looking for somebody like you. But if they cannot talk about you, then that luck is gone. So any conversation that allows us to talk about you, who you are, what you are good at it, what is your potential, any of those conversations are good.
I'll just throw one more closing one here, and that is, I love the conversation that happens after you've left and you finished your first semester of law school, and you write to say, I made the dean's list, or I'm on law review, or the one that happens after you finish graduate school and you're trying your first case, or for some of my friends here, maybe starting a postdoc or something like that. I mean, the beauty of coming to North Central is, I hesitate to say it in the you paid for it sort of way, but we're here because this matters to us, and you continue to matter after you leave. So I'd encourage you to have that great conversation. I know my colleagues will all nod about this. There's nothing we love better than hearing that the thing we talked about when you were 20 turns out to be the thing that you're now hugely successful at when you're 25 or 30.
Those are all very great advice, as is everything you guys are sharing. I know we've touched on this a little bit, but what would you say to students who, even after watching this panel, are still kind of hesitant to approach either you or other faculty that are not on this panel about their career and or any of their academic interests, like that final push to get them to go and talk to any and all faculty, yourselves included?
Find a friend and go with them. So, one of the ways, sometimes, again, it can be threatening to come and talk with a faculty member, but if you can find a friend and come in, it can be a way of starting a conversation.
Take the courage to that initial email. So you jump and then you don't have a way to go back. So just shoot an email and say, I would like to talk to you. It's too late. Once you send the email. And if no, find somebody that helps you take the job. A friend, a family member. But if what is hard for you is to take that first step, own that weakness. That's fine. A lot of us have that. But then find a way to fix it. And sometimes that's the encouragement of a mentor. Like I have so many students that I work where when the only thing that I do it is to make sure that did you email that person? And the only thing that I do with them it is give them, did you email? When it happens, if it didn't happen, when it will happen. So I am the pusher that I just like push you to the cliff and then you just have to go. Just do it. Because if you don't do it, who is going to do it? It's your career. It is your life. So if you cannot do it by yourself, find a way to push you by. If not, find a program and find somebody. If you need somebody, just shoot me an email. I'm pretty good at that. I push people easily. So, but find that, own it.
I think sometimes there might be a perception that your faculty have their lives all figured out. And I think that's one thing I love about Cardinal First, because we often are kind of telling our stories and our foibles and all those kind of things. So just know we're still on. Carl, what'd you say? The struggle bunny? We all have those struggle bunny days. So come talk.
Yeah, I'm always really eager to share of what I did and how not to do that in my past. So one of the things that I definitely didn't do is take advantage of talking to faculty until it was like my senior year. And it felt a little late then. So definitely come in early, as we've been saying. And if you're, I know like going into somebody's office can be a little bit scary, but I have a lot of students that come up to me after class. So if you have a professor, that you're kind of familiar with from class, you can always come up to them afterwards and just say, hey, I've been really thinking about this career thing. Do you have time to talk? A lot of us have office hours right after class anyway, so you can always come by then or just set up a time. I know it can be a little less scary going up to people after class, or you can bring your buddy with, like Dr. Kelly said as well.
I think also don't plan for it to have to be like this big hour-long conversation, like just the first step of a check-in. And then, when that conversation is over, it's over and you go to the next one. So you can just be like, I'm only gonna do this for 10 minutes. I've got one statement I'm gonna make, one question, and then like you've made that contact and started the conversation. So don't feel like you have to go in and it's gonna be this huge, you have to commit to really throwing everything down in the first meeting. Just like a 10-minute hi is all it takes.
Awesome. All really, really great advice. So we kind of have a few more minutes left. So I just want to kind of open it up and to see if any students had any questions that they wanted to ask. You can put them in the chat box. You can speak up. Just kind of, does anyone have any questions for anyone?
Now we all like awkwardly wait if people are like typing and it's taking them a while to send it.
I have a quick vague question. So I'm a second year junior, so I'm getting up there, and I'm kind of still really unsure like what to do and like how to start this process. So I guess just yeah, just anything you guys could say of just like what to do right now in my position.
What have you done so far?
In regards to
Life,
what exactly?
Google, contacting faculty, looking up like what are my skills, what are my strengths, what do I have interest in? Like I always say it, and I always say if you had an hour of time, like uninterrupted time, just an hour to yourself, like what would you do? What would you watch? What would you look up on the internet? Like what would be the thing that strikes curiosity in your brain? And, you know, can we think about like, is there a career path in something like that? Or is there a major that might help you build up the skills to eventually get into a career path like that? So like, this is also like a rhetorical device, right? You don't have to have these answers, Nolan, right now, like on the spot, but just like as a thought exercise to try to get the brain flowing a little bit, try to get you thinking about, you know, what does appeal to you? What does, when you're in a class, do you like the writing part of it? Do you like the reading part? Do you like the research part? Stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm definitely working on narrowing down the search. That's definitely been a big problem for me. Thank you.
The other thing it is, don't be afraid to be interested in a lot of things. I really like what Nicole said a moment ago. So sometimes I talk to my students like, I have no clue what I'm doing and I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Like Jessica laughed because we have those conversations sometimes. And some of us really like to do a lot of things. And that's fine. But the thing is like, okay, even though I enjoy and I'm curious and I have an interest in all of those things, what are the next steps? What are the kind of things? So if you want to start that conversation, what I'll be looking here is like, look, you have 7, 8 faculty. Which one of us aligns with something you want to do, and go there? And maybe we don't have the answer, but then we can point you out in the right direction. But don't be afraid. And because there are certain people that still blows my mind that they know what they want to be, how they want to do it since they are 15. I'm like, how? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know that. And that stress the rest of us. Like I have the students and stressing me out when they have their plans to figure it out. And I'm like, oh my God, what I am, like how these kids can know better than me. But own it. It's okay. It's okay to like a lot of things, but start to take steps in some direction and keep your doors open. So one step you can do, pick one of us. Hey, I want to talk to you, and start to move on.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Good advice.
I would agree with that. There are so many careers out there too that you just have no idea exist until you get into that industry. And then you'll hear of like, I don't even have any examples because I don't know what they are. But you're like, okay, well, I know like there's all this stuff, but then there'll be something extra that you just never saw on any career list or something that you might be perfect for. So if you know exactly, obviously what you want to do, like that's great. But I definitely agree with the keep the door open for other opportunities too. So I'd say it's not the end of the world to not have that super linear path that you see yourself going down on, because you might miss out on some other things if you're too narrowed in your view. If no one else has any other questions for the chat, which feel free to type them in there too. With the last 10-ish, 15 minutes or so. First of all, we want to say thank you to everyone for joining the panel. And we also want to see if any of our panelists have any other final thoughts or takeaways for everybody listening today.
I'll just say that just remember that it's a journey, and you don't have to have everything done all at one time right away. So little pieces like getting yourself involved, like we've been talking about, those can make their way onto a resume. Participating in a RAL symposium, that makes its way onto a resume. Doing little things here and there, it ultimately adds up, and it helps to build a really solid resume for a job. So, don't hide away, make yourself involved and out there on campus, and it'll eventually pay off. Just keep your cool. Don't get too stressed out. Things will fall into place if you just keep chipping away at it.
Something that I just wanted to throw in is it's also okay to figure out you don't like something. As important it is to figure out what you like, if you discover along the way that you absolutely hated something you did, that is an amazing discovery. I have had that multiple times in my college experiences, and I'm so grateful I had those, because I love much more the path that I am on now than the path that I originally thought. So also know that it's okay if you go to your faculty member and you're like, I just hate this major. I don't like it. That's a good thing, because you know what you don't like, and you can change paths to figure out what you want.
That was going to be my thing. You phrased it so beautifully. My thing is, sometimes it's about checking off boxes that the things you don't enjoy or you don't like. I tell students that, we don't get commission off how many majors we graduate, right? And so I take just as much satisfaction when a student comes up to me and says, like, I thought I wanted to be a comm major and I took this class and I don't think I want to be a comm major anymore. I'm like, good. Now we know. It's like, now we can kind of figure out the next step. So as long as we can help you in that journey, and you're making, and that is, of course, the advantage of starting early in your career. And that is how our gen ed is designed. And we want you to be exposed to different things and think about different options. And so the earlier you start on that kind of exploration process, the easier it is for you to kind of narrow things down.
I think we often do a really bad job when we do college admissions, because it signals nothing about what the world's going to care about once you start and finish college. That is, they don't care about big, long lists of activities. They care about accomplishment. So I think what I'd argue, both for graduate school bound students and for industry or work bound students, is focus yourselves on accomplishment, even if that means fewer things. And don't worry so much about activity. And in particular, the ways that might have gotten you into college. I was in this club, this club, this club. I was on this team, this team, this team. Do those things if they bring joy to you, but find ways of building a resume that has accomplishment on it to get you to the next place.
And I will pair to that the importance of success and what it means success. We tie success most of the time to money, to titles, and that's not how success should be measured. You can only be good at what you do if you're happy. So be selfish and put yourself first. There are good careers and good jobs in anything. Anything can lead to a successful career. So do the things that make you happy and put your health always first. Nothing is more important than your health and your family. So keep that in mind, and don't allow our regular measures of success dictate what you want to do with your life. It is your life, but it's yours and nobody else. So keep that in mind and aim for happiness above anything else. Work hard, yes. Happiness doesn't just happen for free, unfortunately. But aim for happiness and kind of deviating to that and less down-to-earth advice, you came here for something. Give yourself, or allow me to give you homework after this panel, what you're going to do next. After you hear all this awesome advice, what's next? And write it down today. Okay, after I hear today, this is what I'm going to do next. Put it. And if you are not sure you want to do it, feel free to shoot an email to any of us. Hey, doctor, blah, 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 blah. After I hear you today, I am going to commit to do this. Can you help me with that? And we will help you out. But at the end of the day, it's on you.
That was amazing, Marco. So beautifully said. Yes, I think prioritize your happiness, your health, your interest, your passion. Try to find a way to make money along that way to get that financial security. So if you can pair all those up, I think you are setting off yourself to a good place. And the fact that you all signed in for this panel today, you came in for that, shows that you're the kind of students who likes to take those initiatives or likes to learn. So lean on that instinct, right? You're already setting yourself apart from hundreds of those that we have sent this email out to join this conversation, but you came in for that, right? So there is something inherent in you. So just try to just pinpoint that and then build on it.
And I'd say don't underestimate the importance of relationships along with accomplishments, that your peers will be your future colleagues. Your professors' relationships won't end here. So think of it as a longer journey of building things and of building on those relationships that is actually really something significant that you're investing in as well.
Does anyone have last minute thoughts, questions? I think we're going to wrap up a little early if no one has any last minute thoughts or questions. We're getting some thank yous in the chat.
Professor Blight also put in a box link with everyone's emails on the panel today to make reaching out easier. So now there's no excuse about emailing because they're right there.
Well, thank you all so much for joining. I'm really excited to have this recording and share with students that I meet with in career development about talking to their faculty. So it's going to be an awesome resource. Thanks for the students who joined. Thanks to our panelists, and thanks to the student moderators. You two did a really, really great job. Thank you all. And the link that Dr. Blight put in the chat is also the link to other Career Week events. So please check those out. There's tons of great stuff coming up this week. And reach out to me or my colleagues in career development if you have any questions. Thanks.